Hello, assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And I'm back with a different episode this time, a different podcast episode. This is mainly about me and my problems as a writer and what I'm going through. Most of us writers go through all of this over and over again. It's a sort of like a never ending vicious cycle. It's not that our minds stop working. I think our minds are always on overdrive. It's always working. The problem here is that when I was younger, and I had a little more optimism in life, a little more hope, a little more faith. That at that point in life, I wrote at least 3 to 4 books simultaneously, 3 to 4 novels simultaneously, and it's because whatever came to my mind, I put it down to writing, and I made full use of it. But as I grew older and as I succumbed to depression due to lots of interference, unwarranted and unwanted interference in my life, and things that were extremely important in building my future. The fact that I had to sacrifice over and over again, I had to compromise over and over again, I had to put myself back and put others, in the front. And I had to put others first, you can say, and I had to put myself last every single time for little things and for bigger things and for everything. That routine of constantly being dragged down by other people's problems and other people's poor decision making skills that I had to seem to somehow or the other face consequences for with no rhyme or reason. The depression just grew, and first I tried to fight it by, traveling abroad again, because the depression first began when I was dragged back after traveling abroad in order to make my future. But I was made to put a hold on all of that so that I could take care of a family member's problems, and I was expected to just leave my life so that they could make their own life. That is when my depression actually began, and in order to fight it, I worked hard to again leave the country and start over. And once again, I was interrupted and interfered with constantly. But when I did leave, the first thing that I did was to do my master's, a second master's. Technically, it would have been my third master's if my second master's wasn't interrupted and if I wasn't dragged back to take care of some other people's shit, in other words. So this final master's that I decided to do in the UK was in script writing and production. The reason I chose it is that I thought it would force me to write. It did. It forced me to write. Although I took the executive course, which meant the evening classes, basically. That helped even more because I could give more time to myself. I always wanted to just have a regular job that did not that did not have much responsibility, but somehow or the other, just looking at me, my face, and my qualifications, people always wanted to put more and more responsibility on me, and that sort of pissed me off a lot in between. But I still managed to hold my own, and I kept myself off the radar as much as I could. I kept myself towards menial tasks that did not require too much thinking, because my mind, as I said, was already on overdrive. I'm already thinking all the time, constantly. And sometimes what you need is just good hard work to stop your mind from going that way, to distract yourself. So yeah, going into sales, going into customer services, that should have helped. It didn't actually help too much, because when you meet a lot of stupid people around you, and that your source of depression is the stupidity of people already, how their stupidity has caused you so much harm that led you to this path of depression in the first place. So then, controlling yourself at one point becomes very difficult. when you again have to be surrounded by stupid people, selfish people, people who are always looking, for they're looking out for number one, and they're always trying to pull you down, drag you down, pull your leg, just to stay up and above. And it's so pathetic, the way people are so pathetic and so petty and so stupid, really. I mean, it gets to you at one point. So every now and then I did have these explosions, mini explosions. Really, they should be very thankful, because I'm not the type to explode easily, and if I have exploded, you're very lucky, because if I don't explode, it just means I can go down the psychotic, the psychotic path, probably kill you in your sleep. But anyway, because of that, oh, I did start writing, yes, and I finally managed to produce two novels, one after the other, and I was actually working on two more. But again, as I said in my interviews, once or twice, I think I said this, that when my computer suddenly failed me, in other words, my drive failed me, and I lost. Even though I have a tendency of saving my material, it's amazing how the most crucial material still gets lost anyway. And so to be able to start all over again, it took me years to start all over again. So it has been very slow. Even digitizing my old works, which are no less than 40 to 42 novels, even digitizing them is a nightmare. Because contrary to popular belief, or I think there is this sort of a popular belief amongst readers, that maybe people like writers, no, writers actually do not like, at least I am one of those who do not like to read what we have written. I absolutely loathe going through my own words and my own work, and it's a huge pain to even type my own words, to digitize it, uh, because these works were done when when we didn't have uh, computers at that point. And then when we did start getting Windows 95 and all, when that all started, then we did kind of, I guess many of us did kind of start working on that. But again, you lose work. You lose work when you digitize it. So it's always better to work on manuscript. But then, yes, I did end up working totally on my laptop. I still do. I work now totally on my laptop, but I do save stuff on my cloud and everything. But again, there's just so much, you can do, and just pray and hope that by the time you're finished with the damn book, everything is safe and sound. So yeah, with great pains, I did manage to digitize one of my works last year, and I was happily I was successful enough to get it out. It was very different from my last two books, and it also kind of shows how I used to write before compared to how I write now. The first two books that I published on Amazon, the Mist series, they are actually one of my latest works. And the work that I published last year, this is one of my older works. This was one of my last works that I did before I stopped writing. Yes, I stopped writing for a long time, as I said. Things just happened, life happened, lots of interruptions happened. So a novel, life makes a novel. This was one of my last works before I fell into that slump because of depression, because of so many other things. And it was, you could say, after. This was, I think, written in 1999 or so. A novel was written in 1999, if I remember correctly, and the Mist series was they were written in 2013, 2014. So actually 2012, you can say. Started writing in 2012. Yeah. So I mean, it was like right after my masters. in script writing that I finished those two books. So you can see the difference in the whole writing style, the theme, the storylines, the premise. Everything's completely different. Of course, it shows how one grows and how one forces oneself to think, and it shows, the stages. The actually, come to think of it, my books really do reflect the different stages in my life. If you go to even older works, they were works written for children. The first book that I published in the mid 90s was a book for early teens. I myself was in my early teens when I wrote that book. Before that, the books even earlier to that, which I didn't publish, but I wrote before that book. Those books were about kids who were in their who were 12-year-old, 11-year-olds, like that, because I at that time was that age. So I wrote a lot of books actually for children. That was also like a whole series. And then for early teens, that was one of the first. That was the first book that I published. And then after that, although I kept on writing, but I never published any. I thought I would wait for the right time and do it, but the right time just didn't come because then, as I said, life intervened. But then finally, when I did manage to come back, I decided to publish my new works first, which kind of makes sense. And again, the new works reflect my state of mind or my life or my experiences at that stage in life. But yes, oddly, you would see that a novel that I published last year, and that it was written in 1999, but it is about a woman in her 40s, or a woman who's just turned 40, like that. And I am right now in my 40s, early 40s. So that sort of reflects, because that's another problem. When we think a lot, we actually have a lot of premonitions, we have a lot of predictions in life, and unfortunately a lot of them come true. It's unfortunate because most of the premonitions that we have are obviously never good, and they come true. So yeah, as I've mentioned earlier, in a novel, I talk about how she travels to the UK and France, and that is exactly what I did. I did travel to France and I did travel to the UK after I wrote that book. And so yeah, the predictions and the premonitions both kind of came true in many ways. I think that's also one of the reasons I can't write, because in order for me to write, I really need peace of mind, and I'm just not getting that. I'm just not getting that, no matter how much I try. I need to be in a certain state of mind in order to write. If my mind is convoluted with so many thoughts, so many, so much, well, let's just say thoughts, then so many thoughts, then I can't write. I know that there are writers who actually, that is when they write, because when their mind is so full, they just need to get everything out of their system in order to feel better. In my case, it's not like that. In my case, it needs to get out of my system, and I need to feel better before I can write about it. Because when it takes over, and when it just wraps me all up in its cyclone, then I cannot write. I need to attain some peace in order to start writing. Whatever it is that is disturbing me, then I can get it out of my system. It has to partially leave my system. It has to make me mentally stable in order for me to pour the rest of it out. But while it is still in me with full rage, then I cannot write. And that is, one of the reasons why I have been in this slum. It's not because I cannot think, or I am in the middle of work again, and and this is the slowest I've ever worked. People who know me, they know how fast I work. As I say, even my teachers, they used to say that of all the students they've ever known, all the years, I was the fastest writer they'd ever seen. And that is because when I start writing, I have to get it all out. before I put my pen down. I don't put my pen down until I finish whatever it is that I need to finish. And because once my pen is down, then it's very difficult to lift it back up. That's the reason why I'm the fastest writer ever. And so the fact that I am right now the slowest writer ever, and I'm right now very much like other regular writers who take years to get their stuff done, it's simply because I guess I'm going through the same thing that the other writers are going through, and for different reasons or similar reasons. And that is, I just cannot get myself to write. It's so difficult to put my mind, to be in that headspace in order to start writing again. And so it's very slow, it's very sluggish, it's very painful, it's very tedious. And one of the things that I do is every time I feel like I need to work on my book, but I just cannot work on it, I just start looking at the cover, because I create my own book covers too. I design them, and sometimes I do them from scratch, and sometimes I sort of take bits and pieces and odds and ends from various places where there is the license to use and modify and edit the where there are no copyright issues. And or as I said, I make them from scratch. So I designed the cover, all the covers of all my books. I've designed all of them, and it's so I kind of go back to those covers. I just go back again and again to them, and I see if they're okay, if they're fine, if I need to tweak them a bit, and I just going through the covers is like it makes you feel like the book is there, it's going to be there, it's there, so it's going to happen, it's going to be real, it's going to exist, even if it doesn't now, it will happen. It's like that. When you look at the covers, it's as if the book has to manifest. So that's one of the things I do, or I find myself doing. I always go back to the covers and I start working. Or I just, work on a cover of another book. Like I actually created a cover of another book. And I was actually trying to create a cover of a book that I was thinking of digitizing. But then I ended up creating the cover in such a way that I thought, what? I think I can actually write a whole new book based on this cover. So I started writing a whole new book. So again, yes, I'm working on two at the same time, but both of them very, very tediously slow. Although I started on a rhythm, but as I said, once that rhythm is lost, once I have to put the pen down, then that's fatal. That's absolutely fatal, because then that means that I just cannot get that pen back up. I cannot start typing again. I have to once again, get back into that headspace, and that's very difficult. That is actually one of the most difficult things that we writers face. That is trying to get back in that headspace in order to pick up that pen and start writing again and immerse ourselves back into that world. So obviously we distract ourselves with so many things every time we think we need to write, and we know we just cannot. In my case, I distract myself a lot with the some old dramas that I'm binge watching for the fourth or fifth or a dozen time, or some new ones that I'm just watching with great discipline. and because they help stop my mind from thinking, really. I mean, the TV isn't called an idiot box for nothing. So dramas and series and serials, they really do help me stop thinking. Although sometimes, to be honest, they don't work nowadays. Sometimes they don't work, and I do start thinking all over again, and the depression takes over, and everything takes over, and then my mind goes on overdrive again, and then I have to force myself to get back into the drama, and it can be a bit problematic. But then I do manage to focus all over again, and get back into calming my mind down into emptiness. So yeah, I mean, that's basically it, because this year I'm a bit scared. Last year by this time I managed to get the whole book finished and ready to be published, and I got it out by this time last year. I was hoping that maybe this year too I'll try to get one book out. But I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, I mean, these are the things we writers do. If people think that maybe we're free and all, but actually, we writers, it's kind of true. We writers really do not have a concept of free time because free time means when your mind stops. Our mind doesn't stop. And in order for me to start working, my mind needs to stop. That's not happening. So, but there's this grand summer sale on Smashwords, and you can get all my books there, the ones that I've written till now and published till now, basically. Do check them out because I mean, each year, the sales, the Smashwords summer sale gets bigger and bigger. This time, I have put all my books at 75% off. So that means every single one of them is 75% off each one of them, right? So you can get any one of them that you like or all of them. As I said, because they're different genres, the Mist series is this semi dark, intense, highly suspenseful, and it's a thriller, it's a conspiracy thriller, and it's a spy thriller, and it's also a political thriller. It's all three in one, and the protagonist is a female. People seem to have really, really loved her, so I'm sure that those of you who haven't yet read it, you will love her too. And the other one, a novel, is more along the lines of semi-poetic, semi-lyrical, you can say, in narrative, but not that much. Yes, no, I never go for poetic, lyrical writing. So but yeah, it's not fast-paced like the Mist series. The Mist series is extremely fast-paced. It's full of action. It's full of suspense. It's full of thrilling moments, and it's one thing after the other. It's this entangled web of espionage and counter-espionage and psychological warfare and the it's a lot of things, and it drives you through. But a novel compared to that is slow-paced. It's about a woman in her 40s who's now beginning to wonder if the path that she's on now, I mean, it's a path that she chose by all the decisions that she made to reach here. And now she's wondering if she needs to change her path or if it's okay to continue. And she decides to take a sabbatical and to travel and, find out what she really wants to do in life. This is a very clean, wholesome romance. And it's, social issues are touched in all my works, to be honest. Issues about racism, discrimination, they all get touched upon, but I do it in such a way, in such a flow that it just flows on with the story. It's not like in your face. But I think you will enjoy it. Those who like clean, wholesome romance, holiday romance, dilemmas and decisions, a touch of life and spice, with cozy mystery thrown in and a bit of espionage. So that's a novel for you. And for those who want this dark, intense thriller series, The Mist is there for you. I've also published the Mist Complete series as one book, as a bundle. You can check that out too. That too is 75% off. So take your pick. Have fun, and do give me feedback. Do tell me, because believe it or not, but actually when I'd finished writing The Mist Part 1 and I was working on Part 2, I got a lot of feedback from the readers of Part 1, and that helped me in writing Book 2. Yeah, believe it or not. I had a lot of help from the readers' feedback And it really helped me to, make sure which direction I would like book two to go, and how to wrap it up. So yeah, do not hesitate to give me feedback. Well, this is the life of a writer, especially one like me. We all have our problems. All of us writers, we all have our problems. As I said, we go into this slum or this slumber for various reasons, but it boils down to it. No matter what the reason is, it is essentially life. Life happens, shit happens. We get drowned in lots of stuff that we usually have nothing to do with. In my case, I have nothing to do with any of the shit that I get dragged into. It's like, I'm going my own way, and then people who create problems for themselves, they drag me in to fix their problems, and then they act as if I never did anything for them, and all the while I'm at the losing end. I lose years of my life fixing their shit, and then I'm still trapped, with no way out. Life is essentially movement. When there's no movement in life, then you're dead. And that is basically it. Because there's no movement in my life, because I'm not moving in any way. I'm not moving backwards, I'm not moving forwards. I'm just stuck. I've been stuck here for 2 decades in the same place. Every time I try to move, I'm dragged back to this exact same point. To the point where now I feel that it's absolutely useless and might as well just end it all. So yeah, like, in order to live, you need to struggle, you need to move forward. Otherwise, you're not living. So as long as you're moving forward, or even backwards, as long as you're moving, you're living. Congratulations on that. You really need to congratulate yourself for that you're actually living. So, well, this is it for now. This is me signing out. Take care, everybody. Khuda Hafiz.